Hi, I'm Councilor Steeves, and I am just here to talk a little bit about why it is so important that we participate in sending in our census forms for this year. And one of the things that we need the federal money for, and state money, because a lot of the money is passed through from federal to state, is to maintain our public resources, things like town hall, roads, schools, various other things, parks, dams, all kinds of things that get funded by federal money. For example, our town hall, which was built in the late 1800s. We've got historical money needed to fix all of our windows. They're terrible as far as insulation goes. They're leaky. You've got the nice quality of stained glass windows that have been around for a long time that need some repair. There are some windows that are simply missing. You know, those kinds of money, those kinds of resources that are the public charge need to be protected. And that money is unfortunately something we cannot afford to do at the local level. A lot of that money comes through state historical grants, which are ultimately often passed through from the federal government money. And there's a grand total of something around $1.5 trillion in federal money that is dependent on the census count every 10 years. In our community specifically, Southbridge's population as of 2016 was 16,831 officially. Which is approximately $75.7 million over 10 years based on the $1.5 trillion of federal census money. But one problem that we've been seeing, however, is that back in 2018, there was a Census did their own study on the fact that about a quarter of the US population said they had very little interest in participating in the census for a variety of reasons that came down to distrust in the federal government. And if we were to do that in Southbridge, it would calculate our town population based on the 2016 numbers as about 12,600, which means we'd be losing about $2 million a year. And we are reliant even more than many communities, we're reliant on federal and state funds to a degree that many of the richer communities in our state are not. For schools, for roads, for public services, for healthcare, for all kinds of things. So we need to make sure that we get that money coming to our community so that we can provide the services that we need, that the citizens deserve. And all of us that are councilors are also citizens. We're all taxpayers and stuff like that here too. So most of us are homeowners. So we all need the same things that everyone else needs in our community. It shouldn't be a split between the town government and the people. It shouldn't be a split between federal government and state government and town governments and these various other levels. The money is all of our money as in US citizens. And we need to make sure that it benefits the majority of the people at the local level because that's where it can be used best. And this is a perfect example. You see that window up there that's been broken for who knows how long. It's a town property. We need to take care of our buildings, and the only way we can do it is with getting enough funds from the federal and state governments. The census this year is looking at, for the first time, trying to do it on the internet, or by mail, which has always been allowed, or on the phone. And they're trying to do that to get it all done as early as possible to avoid people having to go door to door, which is I think it's a doubly concern with the fact that now that we have the coronavirus floating around, you want to have as few people traveling from place to place as possible without being paranoid about it. You can get your forms in early by internet, then you can avoid having that unnecessary contact. Earlier I was talking about the state of our roads as one of the things that we need state and federal funding for, and that's tied directly into the census. Perfect example is we should not be able to do this with our road. This is Gulfwood Road for anybody who's driven around town. You know it's one of the worst roads in our town right now. And that comes down to state and federal money. Specifically, at the state level, it's called Chapter 90. But a lot of that ends up getting passed through federal funds, which are calculated based on the census. We should have been able to do it years ago, and if we had more state and federal money to do it through what's called Chapter 90, we could have done it earlier. That's why it's important to make sure that we get an accurate count of people through the census, because state, federal money, road money, all this the other things that are necessary for maintaining the public services and the public infrastructure come from state and federal money. Because we know that the taxpayers of Southbridge can't specifically afford it ourselves, but the country as a whole can. It is so important that we participate in sending in our census forms for this year.